Welcome to the Old Time Radio Westerns. I'm your host, Andrew Rhines, and before we get into this episode, I wanted to remind you to check out our other Western podcasts released daily by going to otrwesterns.com or searching OTR Westerns in your podcast app of choice. I also wanted to invite you to check out our other podcast channel releasing non-Western shows by going to otnetcast.com or by searching OT Netcast in your podcast app of choice. Now let's get into this episode. This episode is going to be The Lone Ranger. Original air date is August 29th, 1945, and the title is Ranger Justice. Thanks for listening, and let's get into it.
Of light, a cloud of dust, and a hearty Hail Silver, the Lone Ranger. Faithful Indian companion Tonto, the masked rider of the plains, led the fight for law and order in the early western United States. The stories of his strength and courage, his daring and resourcefulness have come down to us through the generations. And nowhere in the pages of history can one find a greater champion of justice. Return with us now to those thrilling days of yesteryear. From out of the past come the thundering hoofbeats of the great horse Silver. The Lone Ranger rides again.
Oh, Silver! Faster, boy, faster! Hail Silver! Away!
Two heavy-set men, one wearing the badge of a sheriff and the other that of a deputy, opened the door to Sheriff Gayton's office in Gunsight.
Sheriff Gayton?
Come in, Chance. Come in.
I guess you're expecting me, Sheriff.
Is that so? Have a seat, both of you.
Thank you. Thanks. I wrote to you from Clear Creek about 2 weeks ago. Told you I'd be over to get that critter you're holding. Sam Pearson.
Pearson? Oh, you must be Sheriff Rinker from Osage County.
Right. And this is Jess Atlee, my deputy.
Well, howdy, Jess.
Howdy, Sheriff. Still got Pearson in the lock and key, ain't you, Sheriff?
Sure. When a crook lands in the Gunsight jail, he lands hard.
Yeah, I figured that way. Oh, by the way, Sheriff, here's my credentials, in case you want to look them over.
I guess so. Yeah. They look all right. I've never been much of a hand for papers and things like that.
Yeah?
But I can see these are in order. You and your deputy look like lawmen. I can always tell.
Thanks.
What do you think of that, Sheriff? First time I ever knew we had law written all over us.
Yeah.
Sure. I guess all of us gents who line up on the law side sort of look alike.
Never thought of it before, but you may be right.
When do you want your prisoner, Sheriff Rinker? Sometime tomorrow?
Oh, we'll take him now.
What?
We're heading right back to Clear Creek.
Without even resting up? That's a long ride.
Yeah, but if we wait over, we're liable to run into trouble.
Well, what do you mean?
Well, it's no secret. Might as well tell you. Sheriff, how'd you like to pick up some reward money?
Why, sure. How do I do it?
Catch Deke Crowley, the outlaw.
Oh, Crowley, huh? There's no chance of me running down an hombre like that.
There might be. He's operating in this territory.
I know,
And
but...
it's 8 to 5. He'll be calling on you before long.
No. Well, what reason would there
He'll
be
walk
to come...
right into this office. If Jess and me tricked him like I figured we did.
I don't savvy.
Deke Crowley tried to dry gulch me and the sheriff.
Oh, what's that you're saying?
Yeah, it's the truth. Crowley spotted us on the way over here, down by Rock Canyon. Him and some of his gang. But they didn't get away with it.
What happened?
We dodged his lead and winged one of the owl hoots he had with him.
So you had to run in with Deke Crowley, huh? What does he look like?
Sort of short, round-faced, toe-headed.
I've heard a lot about that critter, but I've never seen him.
You will.
What makes you think he'll show up here?
I told you we winged one of his gang. The hombre talked a lot before he cashed in.
Yeah?
You see, Sheriff, this Sam Pearson you're holding for me is one of Deke's gang. And Deke is on his way here to bust Pearson out of jail.
That's what you meant when you said I could pick up some reward money?
Sure.
Well, thanks for the tip-off. If the buzzer does show up, I'll be primed and waiting for him.
Deke Crowley's mighty slick. Don't let him fool you.
You're wasting your breath, Jess. Anybody can see that Sheriff Gayton here knows his job. Even a crook who's been dodging the law as long as Deke Crowley ain't liable to fool the sheriff.
I can spot an owl hoot a mile away.
Well, Sheriff, I guess me and my deputy will be off. Bring out that Pearson critter, will you?
Sure. Just a minute. I'll get him.
So the Tin Star thinks he can spot an owl hoot a mile away.
Shut up. We ain't out of this thing yet.
Yeah, but
Hold it. There he comes.
Well, here he is, Sheriff Rinker, and you're welcome to him.
Thanks.
Deke Crowley.
What's that?
I thought you said you were turning me over to Sheriff Rinker from Clear Creek.
He is. You'd better come along quiet.
Sheriff, this man ain't a lawman. He's Deke Crowley.
Why do you owl hoots always start lying when you get in a tight place?
Yeah, I can't.
Better throw the cuffs on him, Jess.
Sure. Come here.
Are you crooked?
Shut up.
No. Sheriff Gayton, can't you understand what these crooks are doing? They're not lawmen. They're Deke Crowley and Jess Hadley. I ought to know I was in their gang.
Well, that proves how loco he is. He admits he's part of Crowley's gang. Now, if I was Crowley trying to get him out of jail, he wouldn't say a word about it, would he?
No.
Sheriff, I wasn't really one of his gang. I'm a U.S. Marshal. I was traveling with Crowley to get evidence on him.
I've had you locked up for 3 days, and this is the first time you mentioned it.
Well, I was waiting for Sheriff Rinker. He knows all about it.
These crooks never stop bluffing.
Why, I'm telling the truth, Sheriff. Honest, I am.
Well, seems to me, young fella, if you were a United States Marshal, you'd have told me before now. You can't expect me to believe
But
a story
I had
like...
to keep quiet. It was all part of a plan Sheriff Rinker and I worked out.
Take him outside, Jess. Tie him onto that extra bronc we brought along.
Yeah. Come on, sir.
Please, Sheriff, I'm
Gag him, Jess, if he keeps on squawking.
Don't worry, I'll handle it.
Sometimes, Sheriff, I wonder if being a lawman is worth all the trouble.
That critter's slippery. Better watch him.
We will. Well, Sheriff, thanks for your cooperation.
Glad to help.
And keep your eyes peeled for Deke Crowley.
I hope that owl hoot does show up here. I can use some of that reward money.
You'll get it. So long, Sheriff. I'll see you again.
So long.
Less than an hour later, on a remote back trail around Gunsight, Dan Reed pulled two horses to a halt.
Oh, Victor. Oh, Scout.
He was on his way back to camp after taking Tonto's horse Scout into Gunsight to have a loose shoe tightened.
Golly. I wonder who those two men are. I think we'll just sit tight, Victor, and wait.
Hello there, kid.
Hi.
You sure look good to us. First human we've seen for the last 7 hours. We've been pounding this trail on foot all that time.
Never walked so far in all my life.
Do both of you live around here?
We're from Clear Creek over in Osage County.
Golly. That's almost 100 miles east.
Yeah.
You couldn't have walked clear over here. Where are your horses?
We lost them. A couple of outlaws ambushed us this morning. Wing, my deputy here.
Yeah.
Gee, that's...
Now, listen, son. My name's Rinker. Sheriff Rinker. This is Slim Baxter, my deputy. We need your help.
You mean to get back to Clear Creek?
No, to Gunsight.
Who's that other horse belong to? Finest looking paint I've ever seen.
Belongs to a friend of mine. I just came from Gunsight.
Which way are you riding now?
Our camp is about 3 miles over here.
Like as not, Deke Crowley's already fooled the sheriff of Gunsight. Made him hand over Sam Pearson, but then...
Deke Crowley? You mean the outlaw? Was he the one who stole your horses?
Him and another hombre, one of his gang. Now, we've got to get into Gunsight, and you've got an extra horse. Will you help us get there?
Well, sure. As long as you're lawman, I guess it's all right.
Thanks, kid. Thanks a lot.
One of you can ride the paint, and the other can double with me.
Good. Straddle the paint, Slim. I'll ride with the boy.
Sure.
Come on, Victor.
Turning the horses around, Dan, with the two lawmen, headed for the town of Gunsight. Dan knew that the Lone Ranger would approve of what he was doing, since the two strangers represented the law were on a mission that called for haste. It was some time later when they rode into Gunsight. As they went along the main street, Rinker suddenly spoke to Dan and pointed.
Right over there, son. I think that's the sheriff's office.
Sure. Oh, Victor.
Light down, Slim.
Yeah. This sure is a great horse.
You've been a big help to us, boy, and I really appreciate it.
Well, that's all right.
Guess I've been too busy to ask your name.
It's Dan. Dan Reed.
Dan Reed, huh? It's a good name, son. And thanks again. If you ever come over to Clear Creek, look me up.
I will. Is there anything else I can do now?
Oh, I think we'll manage all right. Guess the sheriff here will loan us a couple of horses to get home. Come on, Slim.
Yeah. So long, kid.
Go on. Gee, I guess they were telling the truth. They seemed like lawmen. But I'm going to wait here a few minutes and see what happens.
As the two men approached the sheriff's office, Dan moved closer to the door, hoping to hear what would be said inside. Ordinarily, he wouldn't have done this, but the rigid training given him by the Lone Ranger prompted him to try to find out all he could about the strangers. Also, he knew the Lone Ranger would question him concerning their haste to reach the sheriff's office in Gunsight. Meanwhile, unaware of Dan's watchfulness, Rinker and Slim entered Sheriff Gayton's office.
Gayton? Sheriff Gayton?
Who are you?
Rinker from Osage County. This Baxter, my deputy.
Howdy.
Yeah? I've been expecting a critter that answers your description.
Had a little trouble on the trail. Tangled with Deke Crowley and one of his gunslingers. That's why we're late.
That's so?
You're still holding Sam Pearson.
Now, wait a minute. You're Sheriff Rinker. Let me see your badge and credentials.
Why, Sheriff, I just told
Don't you want to identify yourself?
I told you how Slim and I tangled with Deke Crowley. He and his pard got the drop on us. Took our guns, badges, everything.
Mighty interesting.
Oh, now, look here, Sheriff. I wrote you a letter only last week about the prisoner you're holding, Sam Pearson.
I know all about that. But I don't know whether you're who you say you are.
But you can't say... I know. Deke Crowley must have beat us here. You didn't turn Pearson over to him, did you?
This trouble you say you had on the trail. Did you lose your guns, too?
We lost...
We lost everything. The sidewinder's clean
That's
as
all I
up.
wanted to know. Reach, both of you.
Why, you're loco, Sheriff.
Reach. Crowley, this is one spot you can't bluff your way out of.
Crowley? You think I'm Deke Crowley?
I know you are. I just kept talking until I could figure what kind of play you were trying to make.
Well, this gent's plumb loco.
Well, listen,
Keep
Sheriff...
your claws up. There's no use lying. I know crooks when I see them.
Why...
Don't move. I've got the place surrounded. I've been waiting for you two hombres, and you walked right into the trap. Stitch! Stitch, come here. Yeah? You and the boys keep your guns handy. We just landed a couple of bad customers.
Who are they, Sheriff?
Deke Crowley and one of his gang.
Well, I'll be... Deke Crowley, huh? I've heard about the buzzard.
Trying to pass themselves off as lawmen. Tried to pull off a trick to break Sam Pearson out of jail.
Yeah? Lucky thing the sheriff and his deputy from Clear Creek have already dabbed the loop on the Pearson.
You watch these two while I... Hey, who's that kid out there, gawking through the door?
Well, I don't know. I never...
Oh, never mind. Let's put these owl hoots behind bars.
The curtain falls on the first act of our Lone Ranger story. Before the next exciting scenes, please permit us to pause for just a few moments. Now, to continue our story. After overhearing what had been said in Sheriff Gaten's office, Dan Reed raced for the Lone Ranger's camp.
Oh, Victor, Scott. Easy, boy.
What's your hurry, Dan? Thought you were going over on Beaver Creek to join Tonto.
I was.
Well, didn't you and Tonto plan to spend the day fishing?
Yeah, but that was before I met two fellas in Rock Canyon. They had been waylaid and had their horses stolen by Deke Crowley.
Deke Crowley?
The lawman, Sheriff Rinker and his deputy from Clear Creek.
I've heard that Crowley was in this territory.
They were afoot, so I let the deputy ride scout, and the sheriff and I rode double into Gunsight. Was that all right?
Why, of course. It's always right to help someone who's in trouble.
I don't know. I think they're worse off now than ever.
What do you mean?
The sheriff in Gunsight thinks Sheriff Rinker and his deputy are Deke Crowley and one of his gang. He put them in jail.
That's strange. Couldn't Sheriff Rinker identify himself?
Golly, maybe they fooled me, too.
Well, I've seen Rinker several times in Clear Creek.
What does he look like?
Oh, short, round face, light-colored hair.
That's right. At least the men I met were telling the truth.
You say they're in jail?
The lawman in Gunsight wouldn't listen to anything they said. He's sure they're outlaws.
Well, they must have badges, credentials of some kind.
The crooks took those when they took their horses and guns. They were on their way to Gunsight to get a prisoner, a man named Sam Pearson.
Well, that can't be true. Sam Pearson's a United States Marshal.
Whoever he is, I'll bet the real Deke Crowley's got him now.
If Deke and one of his gang took the Marshal away, they probably had an extra horse.
I guess there's nothing we can do about it.
Maybe there is, Dan. Now, there's only one trail out of Gunsight. That's through Rock Canyon. If Crowley went that way, he may be headed for a hideout in the hills west of here.
Sure, but how can...
Tonto's fishing over on Beaver Creek. Take Scout to him and tell him what's happened.
I'll go right now. Here, Victor.
If anyone can pick up a trail in that canyon, it's Tonto. Time to get started right away. There isn't much time before sunset.
Steady, boy. May I go with him?
That's what I want you to do, at least until he cuts some kind of sign.
And will you wait here?
I know, Dan. I'm going to ride into Gunsight. Now, you meet me there as soon as Tonto has anything to report.
Sure. But
But what?
how are you going to convince the sheriff that he's made a mistake?
It's a bigger problem than that. We may need that sheriff's help. We may have to break the law to get it. Well, hurry, Dan. There's no time to lose.
Come on, Victor.
Here, Silver. May not work. At least it's worth trying. Steady, big fella. Come on, Silver.
Sheriff Gaten's jail in Gunsight was well guarded. An armed deputy stood at each corner of the building, while the sheriff himself sat in his office next to the prisoner's cells. He was surprised when the rear door opened suddenly, and Stitch, one of his deputies, stood on the threshold.
Stitch, I thought I told you to stay outside and keep your eyes peeled.
Got to see you a minute, Sheriff.
What's the matter?
Come here. It's real important, Sheriff. I wouldn't ask you.
Oh, what the tarnation. Nothing's more important tonight than for all of you to stand guard out there and
Sheriff, I want you to know this happened before I knew what was going on.
Well, what's wrong with you? What are you gabbing about?
There's a masked outlaw standing right behind me with a gun in my back.
What the...
It ain't my fault. He made me call you.
Take it easy, Sheriff. I mean business.
By Juniper, there isn't. How could he ever get close enough to put
I
a gun...
don't know. It just happened, that's all.
Now step in there and close the door. Do it quietly.
I'm not going
There's
to...
another gun in this hand, Sheriff. I'll reach for your holster.
What do you want?
First, I'll take your gun. Now, walk up to that cell and unlock it.
A jailbreak. You're part of Deke Crowley's gang.
Maybe. You'd better move fast, or I'll
I
let you...
might have known you all who should make a play for
And
Deke.
keep in plain sight. Unless you want to stop a bullet. Move.
All right.
Gaten, I'm glad you finally changed your mind. What's the matter?
Walk this way, Rinker. You too, Slim.
Mask.
Say, what is this? You ought to know, Crowley. Part of your own gang, ain't he? I don't understand.
You will. Now, when we step outside, Sheriff, you call your other guards and tell them everything's all right. You understand?
Well, What else can I do?
Say, I want to
Save
know...
the question, Sheriff Rinker, until we get away from here. All right, let's go. We're going to need some extra horses. I took the liberty of saddling a couple of your mounts, Sheriff.
Horse thieves! You may get away, but I'll have a posse on your trail inside of 10 minutes.
Sheriff, I'll be disappointed if you don't.
Hey, Sheriff! You, Sheriff!
Remember what I said.
Well, yes, it's all right, boys. I'm just looking around.
That's it. There you are, Rinker and Slim. Use these mounts.
I can't figure this out. But it's better than being penned up in a jail by a bull-headed sheriff.
A lot better, no matter who this gent is.
All right, mount up, steady, Silver.
If you didn't have me covered, I'd...
that reminds me. I'll keep your gun for the present, Sheriff. I'll return it later.
I'm warning you all, hoot buzzards. I'll run you down if it's the last thing you ever do.
I hope so. Both of you ready to ride?
Sure.
All right, then. Come on, Silver.
True to his word, Sheriff Gayton lost no time in forming a posse to trail the jailbird.
They headed for Rock Canyon. We're trailing them. All right, line out. Get up there.
Sheriff Gayton led the way, followed by grim, heavily armed men who were prepared to shoot and shoot to kill. After a couple of miles of hard riding, the lawman sighted a white horse far ahead. The horse and its masked rider were flanked by men who had been taken from the jail. Then the chase became more earnest. The distance was too great for pistol fire. Gayton tried desperately to reduce the gap. He leaned low, shouting words of encouragement as he raked his mount with spurs. The pace was fast, but it wasn't fast enough to overtake the fugitives. Sheriff Gayton and those who rode behind him couldn't reduce the gap. In fact, the masked man and his companions seemed to be increasing their lead. Presently, they rounded a bend and became lost to view. It would have surprised Sheriff Gayton to learn that he was doing exactly what the masked man wanted him to do. The Lone Ranger had counted heavily on being followed by a posse. His whole plan depended on it. He led the way around a sharp bend, then signaled for a halt on a cutback trail.
Hold it, big fella. Easy, back now.
What's this?
Oh, wait, I think. Dan.
Boy, Slim, look. It's the boy.
Dan Reed.
Did you meet Tonto, Dan?
Sure, and he found a trail just like you thought he would.
Good. Where is he now?
Up on the slope, there to the left. He told me to come back and find you. He said to watch for a signal fire when... Golly, there it is now. See?
Yes, you're right.
Who set that fire up there? Who are you two talking about?
An Indian friend of ours, Mr. Rinker.
Well, I'll be... All this is too much for me to figure out.
There'll be time for explanations later, Sheriff. That's a posse right behind us. And you take Sheriff Rinker and his deputy and lead them toward Tonto's signal. I'll take a side trail and come in from the other side.
Sure.
Come on, Silver.
Tonto's signal fire marked the end of a trail that had called for all the Indian skill to follow. Tonto worked feverishly, gathering dry brush and light sticks and adding to the leaping flames. As he toiled, he knew that any moment might bring murderous killers, because Deke Crowley was but a short distance away. Deke Crowley and Jess Atlee faced a helplessly bound individual. Their faces were distorted by hatred, and their eyes burned with determination as they met the defiant gaze of the captive lawman. Sam Pearson knew that the end of his life was at hand. He knew that he would soon hang lifeless from the low branch over his head. He was determined to die without giving the outlaws the satisfaction of seeing him register any sign of fear.
All right, Pearson, you might as well open up. This is your last chance to talk.
I've got nothing to say, Crowley.
String him up, Deke, and let's get moving.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. Not yet. I'm going to pry a little information out of this double-crossing badge toter. You're a United States Marshal, ain't you? Joined up with my gang so you could tip off the law.
Well, you seem to know all the answers.
Who have you been reporting to?
Nobody.
Yes, you have. And after that bank job in Gunsight, you let the law catch up with you. Then your lawman friend in Clear Creek could get you back without any risk. That right?
Well, if you're so sure of it, why ask me?
Well, I'm sure of one thing. In about 2 minutes, I'm going to see a tin-star marshal get his neck scratched. Bring over the rope, boys.
Hey, Deke!
What's wrong with you?
Look, down the slope about 50 feet. Tree caught fire. Wonder how that
One
happened.
of you hombres pitched a cigarette down there. Well, come on. Let's get this lawman strung up, then line out of here.
Sure, that's what I've been saying ever since. You hear that, Deke?
Sounds like... Well, no, it can't be. This hideout's off the main trail.
Look, it's the law. The burning tree must have been a signal.
Head for the horses, all of you.
Haven't got time. Horses are on the other side of the draw.
How did those law dogs ever...
The other way. Let's run for it, Deke.
Can't. They're all around us.
Oh, Silver, ahoy!
Keep them covered, men. I'll take
That's it, Sheriff. I'll stop them if they make a break this way.
It's a mass canoe thing.
Open up, boys. We'll shoot our way out.
Well, Sheriff, I guess that winds it up. Deke Crowley's dead, and your men have the rest of the gang tied up.
Sure. But I've still got a lot of apologizing to do. I made a bad mistake, Rinker.
Oh, we all make mistakes.
I don't know how I could have been so dumb. Must have been thinking too much about reward money.
And you helped to break up the Deke Crowley gang. That's all that matters.
Say, where's that deputy of yours?
You mean Slim? Why,
Oh, no, not him. The one who wore a mask so I'd think he was an outlaw. That was a mighty slick stunt.
Sheriff, I never saw that man before he broke Slim and I out of your jail.
What?
I can't understand it.
Well, he helped you, and he helped me. Well, he must be some kind of a lawman.
Super lawman is the only word that fits him.
You have just heard is a copyrighted feature of the Lone Ranger Incorporated.
This has been a presentation of OTRWesterns.com, and we hope you enjoyed. Please take some time to like and rate our shows in your favorite podcast application. Follow us on Facebook by going to OTRWesterns.com/Facebook. Subscribe to our YouTube channel by going to OTRWesterns.com/YouTube. And send us an email, podcast@OTRWesterns.com. You can call and leave us a voicemail, 707-986-8739. This episode is copyright under the Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike copyright. For more information, go to OTRWesterns.com/copyright. Have a great day, and thanks for listening.